Welcome back to part 3. We're on page 224. So, we've just discovered that there is a woman and man standing behind Harry. So, can you infer who they must be? So, you're not predicting what is happening next. You are inferring. You are using the evidence to tell me who those people would be. And when you infer, you use evidence from the text. So, tell me who they are and what were your clues that told you that. And I will start reading. So, he wore glasses and his hair was very untidy. It stuck up at the back, just like Harry's did. Harry was so close to the mirror now that his nose was nearly touching that of his reflection. "Mum?" he whispered. "Dad?" They just looked at him, smiling. And slowly, Harry looked into the faces of the other people in the mirror and saw other pairs of green eyes like his, other noses like his, even a little old man who looked as though he had Harry's knobbly knees. Harry was looking at his family for the first time in his life. The Potter smiled and waved at Harry, and he stared hungrily back at them. His hands pressed flat against the glass as though he was hoping to fall right through it and reach them. He had a powerful kind of ache inside him, half joy, half terrible sadness. How long he stood there, he didn't know. The reflections did not fade, and he looked and looked until a distant noise brought him back to his senses. He couldn't stay there. He had to find his way back to bed. He tore his eyes away from his mother's face and whispered, "I'll come back," and hurried from the room. So imagine why you would want to stay there forever. Imagine the things you would say. What would you be looking at in the mirror? How would you be feeling right now? I found it very interesting that he said, I have to skip back to page 224, he was looking at his family for the first time in his life, because remember that the Dursleys are his family. So why doesn't he consider the Dursleys his family? So make that connection as to how he feels about the Dursleys and why. Show me that evidence why. And now tell me how he feels about this new family he has discovered in the mirror. "You could have woken me up," said Ron crossly. "You can come tonight. I'm going back. I want to show you the mirror." "I'd like to see your mum and dad," said Ron eagerly. "And I want to see all of your family, all the Weasleys. You'll be able to show me your other brothers and everyone." "You can see them any old time," said Ron. "Just come round my house this summer. Anyway, maybe it only shows dead people. Shame about not finding Flemmel, though. Have some bacon or something. Why aren't you eating anything?" Harry couldn't eat. He had seen his parents and would be seeing them again tonight. He had almost forgotten about Flemmel. It didn't seem very important anymore. Who cared what that three-headed dog was guarding? What did it matter if Snape stole it, really? "Are you all right?" said Ron. "You look odd." So think about why the thoughts of Flemmel has gone, why he no longer cares about Snape. What is his mind all about right now? And what I also want you to think about at the moment is his relationship with Ron, his friendship. They've just become friends with Hermione, and she has gone back home for Christmas. But I want you to explore the relationship between Ron and Harry. Think back to everything that's happened between them. What connections do they have to each other? Why do they make such good friends? What Harry feared most was that he might not be able to find the mirror room again. With Ron covered in the cloak too, they had to walk much more slowly the next night. They tried retracing Harry's route from the library, wandering around the dark passageways for nearly an hour. "I'm freezing," said Ron. "Let's forget it and go back." "No," Harry hissed. "I know it's here somewhere." Would you like to forget about it? Or, like Harry, would you be desperate to find that mirror again? They passed the ghost of a tall witch gliding in the opposite direction, but saw no one else. Just as Ron started moaning that his feet were dead with cold, Harry spotted the suit of armour. "It's here, just here, yes!" They pushed the door open. Harry dropped the cloak from around his shoulders and ran to the mirror. There they were. His mother and father beamed at the sight of him. So think about why didn't JK just use the word smile? His mother and father smiled at the sight of him. Why did she choose the word beamed? "See?" Harry whispered. "I can't see anything. Look at them all. There are loads of them." "I can only see you." Looking up properly. Go on, stand where I am. Harry stepped aside, but with Ron in front of the mirror, he couldn't see his family anymore. Just Ron in his paisley pyjamas. Ron, though, staring transfixed at his image. Look at me, he said. Can you see all of your family standing around you? No, I'm alone, but I'm different. I look older, and I'm head boy. What? I am. I'm wearing the badge like Bill used to, and I'm holding the house cup and the Quidditch cup. I'm Quidditch captain too. Ron tore his eyes away from this splendid sight to look excitedly at Harry. Do you think the mirror shows the future? How can it? All my family are dead. Let me have another look. You had it to yourself all last night. Give me a bit more time. You're only holding the Quidditch cup. What's interesting about that? I want to see my parents. Don't push me. A sudden noise outside the corridor put an end to their discussion. They hadn't realised how loudly they had been talking. Quick! Ron threw the cloak back over them as the luminous eyes of Mrs. Norris came round the door. Ron and Harry stood quite still, both thinking the same thing. Did the cloak work on cats? After what seemed an age, she turned and left. This isn't safe. She might have gone for Filch. I bet she heard us. Come on. And Ron pulled Harry out of the room. The snow still hadn't melted next morning. Want to play chess, Harry? Said Ron. No. Why don't we go down and visit Hagrid? No, you go. I don't know what you're thinking about, Harry. I know what you're thinking about, Harry. That mirror. Don't go back tonight. Why not? I don't know. I've just got a bad feeling about it. And anyway, you've had too many close shaves already. Filch, Snape, and Mrs. Norris are all wandering around. So what if they can't see you? What if they walk into you? What if you knock over something? You sound like Hermione. I'm serious, Harry. Don't go. But Harry only had one thought in his head, which was to get back in front of the mirror, and Ron wasn't going to stop him. That third night he found his way more quickly than before. He was walking so fast he knew he was making more noise than was wise, but he didn't meet anyone. And there were his mother and father smiling at him again, and one of his grandfathers nodding happily. Harry sank down to sit on the floor in front of the mirror. There was nothing to stop him staying here all night with his family. Nothing at all. Except... So, back again, Harry. Harry felt as though his insides had turned to ice. He looked behind him. Sitting on one of the desks by the wall was none other than Albus Dumbledore. Harry must have walked straight past him, so desperate to get to the mirror he hadn't noticed him. I didn't see you, sir. Strange how short-sighted being invisible can make you, said Dumbledore, and Harry was relieved to see that he was smiling. Imagine had it been Snape that had caught him. So, said Dumbledore, slipping off the desk to sit on the floor with Harry, you, like hundreds before you, have discovered the delights of the Mirror of Erised. I didn't know it was called that, sir, but I expect you've realised by now what it does. It shows me my family. And it showed your friend Ron himself as head boy. How did you know? I don't need a cloak to become invisible, said Dumbledore gently. Now, can you think of what the Mirror of Erised shows us all? Harry shook his head. Let me explain. The happiest man on earth would be able to use the Mirror of Erised like a normal mirror. That is, he would look into it and see himself exactly as he is. Does that help? Harry thought. Then he said slowly, it shows us what we want. Whatever we want. Yes and no, said Dumbledore quietly. It shows us nothing more or less than the deepest, most desperate desire of our hearts. You, who have never known your family, see them standing around you. Ronald Weasley, who has always been overshadowed by his brothers, sees himself standing alone, the best of all of them. However, this mirror will give us neither knowledge or truth. Men have wasted away before, entranced by what they have seen, or been driven mad, not knowing if what it shows is real or even possible. The mirror will be moved to a new home tomorrow. Harry, and I ask you not to go looking for it again. If you ever do run across it, you will now be prepared. It does not do to dwell on It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live Remember that. Now, why don't you put that admirable cloak back on and get off to bed? Harry stood up. Sir, Professor Dumbledore, can I ask you something? Obviously, you've just done so, Dumbledore smiled. You may ask me one more thing, however. What do you see when you look in the mirror? I see myself holding a pair of thick woolen socks. Harry stared. One can never have enough socks, said Dumbledore. Another Christmas has come and gone, and I didn't get a single pair. People will insist on giving me books. It was only when he was back in bed that it struck Harry that Dumbledore might not have been quite truthful. But then he thought, as he shoved Scabbers off his pillow, it had been quite a personal question. So that is the end of chapter 12. As nagging Mrs. McLennan will remind you, take a moment, think back, what were the most important details? Find me the 3 most important details you felt came up in that chapter. Why are they important? Do a quick summary for me. So remember, that could be 3 or 4 sentences about what has happened. That is putting those main details into full sentences, not just dot points. And also, when you put them into sentences, I want you to think about putting them in chronological order, as you would know. So it has a logical sequence to it. And I will see you back next time for chapter 12. Bye!